see this dark screen is the future of crypto.
Which probably explains why all the people on Hardware Zone are calling us nerds. I mean, it's kind of printed on the face. So I guess we the only thing we can do is hop onto a Zoom call and talk to our web camera. That's all we can do, not ask girls out. Welcome back to episode 17 of the Backholder Pod. So today, Kelvin is back with us again. So maybe before we even begin with the entire discussion, Kelvin, how was your trip?
Wow, quite relaxed lah. Like I don't want to come back after that lah. I have to force myself to come back.
Don't want to come back to Singapore or to reality?
To reality.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have any insights or anything? Have you been following the markets over the last 2 or 3 weeks when you were away?
I only saw that Tesla keep going up. That's all.
Last night got pullback.
Oh, don't worry, it will. Like Kelvin's background, you see, it's going to the moon.
What's a 5% pullback when you see a 100% increase?
Exactly. So I think now before we start the video proper, just to give a quick breakdown of the discussions today. So I think just by judging our backgrounds, you probably can expect that we are going to talk about the budget 2023. So Minister Lawrence Wong just released the budget on Valentines Day, which is our subsequent topic as well, as you can see in my background. So we are also going to talk a little bit about certain aspects of the budget, some sort of baby bonus, and maybe even some dating tips for our single friends out there. And last but not least, I think Charlie Munger has also recently held his Daily Journal Corporation's shareholder annual meeting. And we'll talk a little bit more about what he's discussed in the meeting specifically, because he said some really, really spicy stuff. So as always, remember to help gently hit the like button, because that's all we ask for. And also, this video is sponsored by Mumu, but more about them later on. So I think just to kind of kickstart the entire discussion about budget 2023, I think Kelvin did do a video specifically breaking down some of the key aspects, but I'll just pass the time over to Eric to maybe share with us what's maybe 1 or 2 things that stand out in the recent Valentine's gift from Minister Lawrence Wong.
I think the one that stand out for me probably is the CPF contributions from 6,000 to about 8,000 progressively lah, of course. So every year they will increase like a few $100, $500 to $700 until they hit 8,000. So basically that will mean that the take home part, right? If let's say you're earning more than 6K, let's say you're earning like 10 or 12K, whatever, you will have to contribute more to the CPF on your employee side. And then the employer also have to contribute like correspondingly the 20%. So that to me, I think was quite a big thing, especially for, I think the online people says it best. They say that mostly those that are not earning that much, they don't really care, right? Like if I earn like 4K and below, like that doesn't really affect me. And those that really earn a lot is also like nothing to them, like okay, whatever. But those that are earning like 6+ to about 8K, thereabouts, they will feel the most impact. Because as a percentage, then you will have less cash flow. So to me, that was quite a biggie for the middle income people. I think that is one thing.
Right. I think before that, right, on this CPF topic, maybe I'll just throw the question back, right? Because we are not part of the government, so we are not here to explain policies, right? I want to know your opinion on this 6 to 8K bump. Do you think it's a net good, net bad, or how would it affect, especially like you said, the middle income people?
I think it really depends on how you view the CPF. If you view it as a Ponzi scheme, you think that
so is it a Ponzi scheme? Are you insinuating that?
I'm not saying anything that is a Ponzi scheme or what. Personally, I believe in it because I hit my full retirement sum already, so I'm not really that bothered by it. Except that the first thought that came to my mind is, okay, if I'm going to because I have my full retirement sum, I already hit the MA, the minimum sum also. So like mostly the interest, right, will all flow from those 2 accounts to my OA. And then we know OA is only 2.5%, right? Like quite pathetic. It's even worse than the fixed D. So if we leave all the OA that's building up there, sitting there, the thought that comes to my mind is, okay, then I better make sure that I use the OA to like use it as a down payment for like some sort of an investment property, like buy a studio or one room in like Orchard or something lah, some atas area, and then like rent it out so that, you know, I can get it back in cash. I use the OA to pay down payment, and then I rent it out and get back the installments in rent. Yeah, so that's how I'm thinking lah. Then after that, I look at the other one. Then they say, oh, the buyer stamp duty also, you know, increased. Then I
Yeah,
say,
it went up. Right.
after that, they say what? Above 1.5 mil, they're gonna charge you another 1%. In excess of 3 mil, they're gonna charge you 6%. Okay, in all honesty, right? It doesn't really affect my thoughts earlier, because I like the property that I'm looking to get, probably it should be less than 1.5 mil. If it was for investment, sort of like one room or studio in those prime district. So I don't know, like for people who are looking to buy like 3-bedroom condo or something, I think this could be quite bad lah. Means that you have to fork out another don't know how many $1,000, 15K or something like that. I can't remember. Yeah, so it's pretty bad.
Yeah, just to build on this, right? I am curious. Aside from properties, assuming that now OA accounts is building up, right? What are the good alternatives? Have you guys exploring any good way to invest? Not necessarily in property, but it could be in, let's say, equities, bond funds, cash, and so on, right? Have you guys explored this?
Oh, for the CPF OA, you can dump the money into the OCBC fixed deposit. Right now, it's giving about 3.88%. So 2.5 jump to 3.88. That's quite a big jump lah. So I calculated it's about 80% increase in interest after you earn that interest and dump back into CPF OA. Then if it's still on, you can dump back you can recycle the cash into another fixed deposit. Then you're earning almost the same rate as CPF SA, but without locking up your money. So, but the downside is that you have to go to the branch to queue. Then I heard that the queue is about 3 to 4 hours long. So Singaporeans, I think they like to do this kind of stuff. So it shouldn't matter to them.
But why cannot do over online? They really don't provide this.
I think this thing is too new. So the developers haven't coded it in yet.
Yeah, so we are trying to give some suggestion to all the banks out there, if you're possible, faster code it in so people don't wait 3 to 4 hours. But right, Kelvin, you want to say?
So I have a tip. You don't actually have to queue for 3 to 4 hours, because on OCBC app, there's a e-queue function. So you just queue on the app itself. Then when it's your turn, you just go to the branch to do your stuff. So that's my tip.
Right. Then for Kelvin, what's your opinion on this 6 to 8K jump for CPF contribution?
I have two sides. So if I'm an employee, right, I'll be very happy, because as well as I've got a $340 pay raise from the company, and you times it over 12 months, that's like $3,000 pay increase. Then the second thing is, from the company's point of view, it's a bad thing because I have to pay more money to the employee. So one article on Channel News Asia said that by when this is fully implemented, there will be about 2 billion to 2.5 billion loss in money given out to employees. So then the question will be, where are the companies going to get back the money to cover this loss? So naturally, it will be transferred over to the buyers, to the customers.
Right.
So
it's called maybe increase in productivity.
I don't know. I just know that this will cause more inflation. That's all.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, just also to provide some color, right? So I think both Eric and Kelvin are business owners, so they probably might think from the employer's perspective. So maybe I ask Bunti then in this case. So what's your perspective as an employee?
Yeah, I think I do agree with Kelvin. Is that I'm happy that I will get more monies from my employer. So, but that money is in the form of CPF, and I don't get to spend it as a cash. That's the things, right? So for me, I don't actually spend too much time to think about like how good or bad it is, because these are the things that set by the government. We all just have to follow, unless there's a very clear loophole for us to get away from this, right? If not, once the government said it, we just follow. But good thing is that we have more money in CPF, and let's say more money in OA. We can also think of how to optimize it, how to utilize the money for investment and not stuck with a 2.5% returns. That's my view.
Just now you did floated the idea that there might be a potential of trying to allocate OA funds into equities, right? Like you were asking whether is it bonds or equities or fixed D. So would you personally do it by allocating maybe to SPY or whatever other index out there?
Actually, as of now, my OA money is not invested in equities at all. I won't say at all. So it's either move to SA, which helped me to hit my FRS. The rest is like very small amount in OA. So I haven't done that. But let's say, because this part, right, this piece I see as a safe investment. It's not really for the growth assets. So for safe investment, I would rather put in, let's say, like a short-term bond fund or some FD. I think this make more sense. Before this, it was like much lesser than SA. So I just park my money in SA, just do one-off transfer. But now, since it's getting higher and higher, like FD rate that mentioned by Kelvin, I think it make more sense to actually explore all these opportunities.
Right. Okay. I think personally, I want to echo similar sentiments. Like, I think it depends on asset allocation, right? So for people that like to take aggressive ways, like all in Tesla, all in Baba in your personal investment portfolio, I think CPF is don't go into equities as well, even though there's like a proven track record like 8%, because nobody promises you the 8%. That's just my very unsolicited opinion. So I think now pivoting over to Kelvin. So what was one thing that stood out to you in the budget 2023?
The increased enhanced housing grant by 30K. That thing, it sounds good in theory, so buyers get more money to buy house. But if you are the seller and if more people can afford to buy your house, would you increase your house price to match that demand? So in a way, it sort of cancel out each other, this increase. Yeah, so people who can afford to buy will still be able to afford to buy. For people who can't afford to buy and can't get this grant, you'll be even worse off for them. So your house price goes up, but you can't get that 30K grant, you are screwed. Though I see that Mr. Lu yesterday just posted a video about this. He said that it may not translate to a higher housing price because the money goes into CPF. So it's not cash. So this one I don't really understand his rationale.
I think it should translate to higher price, because the way that CPF grants work, right? Because I've taken one before, 15,000 only when I was single. So the way it works is that they credit that amount directly into your CPF account, and then they will take that amount to pay for your house. So I reckon this should be the same thing. They pay you the 80,000 into your CPF OA, and then they will deduct it from the account itself. Yeah, so theoretically it should bring up the price.
Yeah, then the other thing that not many people realize is that when all these grants go into your CPF and you use it, you are going to accrue interest on all of these grants. Yeah. So it feels like the net effect of this is that you end up paying more money on interest. Okay, in the end, it's still your own interest, but you still end up paying more money back to wherever it goes. So I feel that even though it's good intention, the effect on it is, to me, is quite bad.
But at the end of the day, the interest, even if you accrued it, you have to pay back, it still belongs to you. I mean, if I also had a friend who sold her HDB at a loss. But if it's at a loss, right, I think you can appeal to waive off the accrued interest. Like you just pay back whatever you use. That's it. Okay, so the accrued interest is not really is a die must pay back kind of thing. It's only if you are able to do it with some profit, then okay lah. I mean, the essence of it is to help people who cannot, have that kind of money to get their flat. I think they were saying up to what, 190,000. I don't know how you get that much grant, but up to potentially, depending on your income. So I think it's a good thing, but like the EV tax credit, right? I think it will eventually drive up the prices, because then people say, oh, I have this rebate, 7,000 rebate. So then the automakers will drive up the price. So I don't know. It should drive up the price. Yeah. But
Bunti, got any point or perspective on this?
Actually, I wanted to pick the one that mentioned by Eric, which is the increase from 6 to 8,000. But since that one was mentioned, I'll say another one, which I think is quite interesting. There's one say that the taxes will increase for property, cars, and tobacco. So I think all this got nothing to do with me. I don't have plan to buy property and no plan to buy cars, and I'm not a smoker. But I do think that this kind of message, right, coming from government is that they are, I mean, via taxes and so on, they try to tell citizens, please don't, chiong and go and buy so many properties. Property prices are high now, so they're going to tax us more and so on, right? And car taxes also increase. So for those who can actually afford not to buy cars, then better just delay the decisions. Don't like during the good time now, just keep on buying here and there, and it add up to your obligations. So I think after all, this is a so-called finance channel, right? Although we provide a lot of entertainment, but still, I do think that we should tell people not to spend beyond their means. So that's the things that try to triangulate between the message from the government to what we should do. So don't spend on all these items.
So I think on my end, right, I think one of the most interesting thing, at least I only can cover the rest of the grounds, right, was really the idea of the enhancement of baby bonus cash gifts. So I think just a public service announcement to all our fellow Singaporeans out there, the government is now essentially constantly throwing money at all the married couples that don't have kids. So for those of you who are still waiting on the sidelines, I think you can take the opportunity to kind of contribute to and do national service. But that said, I think it circles back very nicely because just last week we were talking about like Valentine's Day on the 14th, right? And the one of the best Valentine's Day gift is to get free money. So which introducing today's sponsor, which is Momo. So Momo platform currently is running a promotional campaign until the end of Feb of 2023. So if you deposit more than $2,700 into Momo, you can spin a wheel and get up to one free Apple share, which is worth around 200 plus Singapore dollars. And more importantly, they have a few of the side quests and a few of the events that they're running on the site where you deposit more than $100 into Momo Cash Plus, you can get a $2 cashback every day for 10 days. And one last point, there's also this Fishing Joy game where you can play a game and win up to $88 cash. So if you're interested, the link is in the description box down below. So feel free to head down and just use our link below. And yeah, thank you Momo for sponsoring this video. So since this is the season of love, right, I think maybe I wanted to solicit some love advice or relationship advice from the other three panels. Because for those of you who don't know, other than me, the three of them are married and all of them have kids. So maybe some of you might want to share your entire journey with trying to find a girl, how to cultivate the relationship and then get married and have a kid. Bunti, you might want to start first.
No, I don't think I'm an expert on these topics there. Yeah. So for those who don't know, my wife is my first girlfriend, so I don't have all this relationship experience. So yeah, we are married and stay married.
Right. Then what about Eric? Do you have any general tips and advice for single people like me?
I think the tips is what I told you earlier, right? Like just go out and ask the girl out, lor. Like don't be afraid of rejection like me. I'm so afraid of rejection, I don't dare to ask girls out. So I won't get rejected, ma. If you don't ask girls out, you won't get rejected. So that is like so looking back, I think rejection should be quite there's nothing to be afraid of lah. Like I don't know, like guys are meant to get rejected.
But I think it's normal, right, for people to be scared of getting rejected. It's the feeling don't feel good though. So rather than just say, oh, just go out lah and just try it, like how do you kind of overcome that feeling? Or if somebody really said, hey Eric, cannot lah, I scared lah, how?
Scared lah.
Yeah.
I think scared, then you need, okay, so what happened for me, right, is that I have this NS friend. I was in the in-camp, one of my last few in-camp. I was already like 35, thereabouts, like last few in-camp already. And then I have this friend that I just got to know recently, last 2 to 3 years. Then he was like egging me on. He's like, oh, you got this girl you like, right? Yeah, just ask her out lah. Just ask her out. Then every day he will egg me on. Then got message her or not? Got ask her out or not? So I'm like, okay lah. So sometimes you need like friends like that to actually egg you on a little bit. Because if not, I'm those type of very shy person. I don't really dare to walk up to girls and ask them, hey, you want to go out? I'm not really so chat. Like you can just walk up to her, hey, want state or not? I cannot. I think I will fail.
Which probably explains why all the people on Hardware Zone are calling us nerds. I mean, it's kind of printed on the face. So I guess we the only thing we can do is hop onto a Zoom call and talk to our web camera. That's all we can do, not ask girls out.
Okay, we should ask the most experienced one.
Yeah, I think Kelvin is the most experienced one.
It's the chat, man.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So
Chat.
Kelvin, you got any love advice now or general
A lot. I
advice?
got a lot.
Wow, good.
I'm sure all of you can agree that like if during your university time is the best time to find your partner, right?
But
Actually, I want to ask a question, right? I want to ask a question. Is it very, very vital that you must stay in the hostel?
Save money, yes lah.
Huh?
To save money and time.
No, not to save money and time. Like to have more chance to interact with the girls.
that one
Not
I
really
agree.
that.
That one I
Not
agree.
really that. Because
Not-
I stayed on campus, then the floors are so it's like one floor is guy, one floor is girl. So it's like segregated kind of thing. Though sometimes I do hear people bringing girls in the middle of the night. I can hear sounds at night.
Of course, I think they segregate that. I mean, it's just common sense. Toilets are segregated, floors are segregated. Like boys stay at the boys level, girls stay at. But do you guys actually stay at your supposed level? Do you?
Of course.
No, you have to. You cannot say you don't because that's a chargeable offense, by the way. But I think yeah, it is. It's in the code of conduct or something. But I think one important factor about staying in hostel the other time was it's the common spaces and the time constraint that you don't have. So meaning some CCAs they can go on to 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Don't know what they're doing lah. But legit stuff, not what Kelvin is saying, what's hearing noises. So if they're doing like CCA stuff, whether they have dance or whatever, or activities until late in the night, they can stay until late in the night. But for people who don't stay in hostel, 2 o'clock, you ask them to go home, they need to grab back, it's probably going to be $40 or something. So that's why that environment of staying in hostel will kind of encourage more relationships to be deepen. I'm not saying boy girl, can be boy girl also, because I do see a few. Oh, by the way, no, by that I don't mean I don't mean in the romantic way. I mean just strengthening the bond and relationship between people because they go through a lot of all these activities. So I think staying in hostel is a very plus point in a way. But
when you say illegal, right? Illegal to go to the other level to stay, you meant like staying overnight, right?
Yeah, staying overnight.
So is it illegal to just go into the girls' room?
I don't think so. No, so going like normally no lah. Like you can't stay overnight and stuff.
Like afternoon you can go like
yeah. Afternoon can
right?
should be.
Yeah, afternoon can go. So like there's a sort of like quiet hour thing where after like certain hours you can't be there. Otherwise it's the hostel considered as breaking the rule. Then they will just cancel your stay there.
Yeah, sometimes can 记大过 also. Like you can get a record for that. I do hear of people getting records lah, but this kind of thing is not caught. Never mind lah. Caught already, then you own self answer lah. But I think back to Kelvin, he haven't finished with his advice yet. Like, what's his advice for single people?
Right. So I was saying about the university thing. It's easier to find your partner there compared to people who are in their working life lah. So especially people who are in their 30s lah. You will notice that people who are in their 30s, the single guys and girls, right, they will know what they want. And they will take less bullshit from the potential people, potential partners. So in a way, it's actually harder to find relationship once you are in your 30s. That's it. So a trick last time I used, how I met my partner was I use dating apps. So dating apps, if you use dating apps like Tinder, right, one day you have like 100 swipes. And if you are a guy, you will know that it's very hard to get a match in dating apps as compared to girls. Girls, whenever you swipe, it's definitely a match already. So what I did was I swipe right 100 times every day, no matter who the girl is. Then I use another app called OkCupid at that time. They had unlimited swipes. So it's like job application. You just send to everyone, see who replies first. then you filter from there. So that's the tip that I have. Rather than you choose people, you bulk send out everything, then let them choose you. Then you see who replied, then you choose from there. So it's an easier game in a way.
Right. So that's like law of large numbers, right? You are just playing. I think it's a sales.
Exactly.
Then Eric, you have any comments on this?
Have you tried like going for those like lunch, actually, those kind of more formal dating platforms rather than
they won't waste time. They won't waste time.
waste time?
So for me, since I mesh, after I did that trick, right? Obviously there were a few matches, Then I did went out a few times. Got rejected almost all the time. So it is after a while you will get used to it, all the rejection, all the treating, because it is expected that the guys will treat the girls, So you have to set a budget aside to do all this kind of stuff, and all the time, So it's like scheduling an interview every week kind of thing. Then after within 6 to 12 months, then you sort of get a match. Because it's the law of large number kind of thing. Eventually you will get a match, you will do this trick. So Chicken, if you are desperate enough, that's my tip for you.
But Kevin, I wanted to ask you, right? So have you regretted not finding a girlfriend in university, or putting yourself out there more? Like looking back, if
back then I was attached, so I can't find.
So in the middle something happened, then you went to the law of large numbers thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, understand. Then maybe Bunti, right? Since you've been utterly quiet, right? Do you have any perspectives on like dating apps or people that are single and swiping on them?
No, I haven't tried using all this dating app at all. I think when I dated my wife back then, I'm not aware
how do you
of
approach
this
her?
thing called dating app.
How did the whole thing start?
Yeah, it's using the more traditional way. It's really like via, like friends group, and then we go outings and so on. But that time, I was in my high school, so it's already like, stay out from the parents' place, and then more, how to say, more there's flexibility when it comes to like more freedom. It's not tied to family so much. So we went out having fun with friends, and then the friends group getting smaller and smaller until left with just like, me and her. So that's how it progressed. Yeah.
Bunti is using the sniper theory.
Yeah, why the group getting smaller and smaller? What do you do?
Bunti is chasing the rest of the guys out. This one don't you ask what?
No, the rest of the friends, they know when to get out also, so they're quite smart.
Oh, okay. That's a good tip, Chicken.
But this may not be as effective as what Kelvin just shared. It's not really based on law of large number.
Sniper.
But actually,
machine gun.
But actually, this law of large number thing, right? Doesn't it sound like a bit, how to say, sad? Like from an idealistic perspective, like you need to cast a net and like stuff like that. Like it becomes a very methodical, very there is a strategy to it going in.
I actually don't think so. That I think this one is very effective, because imagine, right? Let's say if you have a soulmate somewhere, but you haven't get to know the person, what's the chances of you and her can meet up somewhere, at the same place at the same time and so on, right? So I do think that to get to know that part, the apps will help out. So it speed up the progress, right? But doesn't mean that once you have a girlfriend and then you're attached to her, then that's it, right? It's not like that, because the journey just started, So you probably still need a couple of years to like make sure each of you, can get used to each other and so on, and can proceed to the next stage. So I don't think that's like the app can play every roles. It's just like kick off the starting only. Yeah.
Right. So now if I were to ask, right, sorry, I'm gonna be the one asking the most questions here because I'm evidently single. Anyway, I think there's a few phases, right? Then you know dating really, then you have the girlfriend part. Then after that you propose, right? Can I just have a rough estimate of like how long did you guys date before you pop the question or you give a ring? Like just around the table. Like Bunti, how long were you dating before you got married?
I was calculating just now. I think 6 to 7 years.
6 to 7 years.
Mm.
Eric?
6 to 7 months.
Oh, 6 to 7 months. Okay, Kelvin?
About 2 years lah.
2 years. Wow. Like, that's a very big range though. But actually for Bunti wise, right, 6 to 7 years, is it not too long? Like,
Yeah, there's a reason, right? Because I started dating my wife since high school. Let's call it like A level.
that's
So
around
I-
18 years old lah. 17, 18.
Yeah. So from there until enter university, finish the university, start working, that's already like 4 years already. So once I started working for 2 years already, like proposed to my wife. Yeah.
Then for Eric, what's the story? How do you...
So the story is that I've been waiting for too long. So I've been sitting on my hands since like university, playing games, trading, investing, and then don't know doing what also lah. Like just
Sounds like my life, but don't stop it. Anyway, just continue the story.
yeah, just hanging out with my other guy friends those so-called single people, and then after a while I decided that had enough of it lah. I feel like having someone that I can go home to and just go out and catch a movie with. Although nowadays we don't watch movies at all lah. But that was my initial intention back when movies were still a thing, okay, for dates. So so I kind of decided, like, by the time I dated my wife, right, like I was already 35. Then she's like just a little bit younger than me. So we're both
Review
like,
lah. Yeah.
you can put it like a bit past the expiry date already. Not
So-
like good until 2025.
Right.
Ours was good 2 years ago. So,
Right. So it's like what Kelvin said lah. When you guys are a bit more matured, y'all all know what y'all want, and
Yeah.
it's the entire process has a lot less friction lah, right? So
yeah,
that's
because
why
I just told her, right, like don't need to be scared lah. Like we are also already like what you see is what you get lah. I'm not like buffing myself out at the gym for you. You're also not like dolling yourself out for me. We see each other like as it is, like this is just how I am, lor. Then she said, oh, okay, lor. Then this is also how I am, lah.
oh, this is a good salesman, this guy.
It's
You all must
okay,
learn,
lah.
Must learn from Eric, guys. He's a good salesman.
Because when I was younger, right, like I just share with you, I was also very idealistic. Like because I was a Christian also. I am a Christian, and then last time I used to read this book, like I Kiss Dating Goodbye. So there's this very famous book that says that you must pray to God, then somehow miraculously everything will fall into place. Then you all will look into each other's eyes. Then like you are the one. Then like then you get together. Then within 1 year you get married and all that. Live happily ever after. By the way, I think the author of that book, right, already divorced already with the wife of his story, divorced don't know how many years ago. So then I think now he's claiming that what he preached previously was wrong lah. So obviously I also know it on hindsight, but when I was young in my impressionable years, like early 20s, I also thought that must be like 一见钟情, like suddenly one day I will find my love. Then I realized that now I'm like 40 plus, right? I realized that, I think just go and try it, like what Kelvin says, right? Like just go and do it lah. Like don't have a over romanticized view of like finding a girlfriend, finding your soulmate and so called. There's no like one perfect right person. And in fact, we are not perfect also, right? So everyone is just work in progress. So you choose, and then she also choose you, then let's do it lah.
Do what?
like do life together. Yeah,
Okay.
do life.
I think that's a great advice, and maybe we'll put a stop here. So for those of you who have further comments or further questions, I think we have a panel of a lot of love experts that range from 6 months to 6 years. So for those of you with anything, just leave in the comment section down below. I think the last part of this discussion, because let's not forget it's still a finance related podcast. I think Charlie Munger recently just had his daily journal annual shareholder meeting. So he said a lot of very controversial opinions. So I think as you guys can see from the background, right, I think Bunti is the one in the nose. Maybe Bunti, you want to give us a rundown on your thoughts on what Munger just said and whether you have any opinions on that as well.
Yeah, I think he said a lot of things. It's just that why I find it quite interesting listening to Charlie Munger is that even when during like Berkshire Hathaway annual shareholder meeting and there's only Warren Buffett here and Charlie Munger, two persons sit there, right? Actually, Charlie Munger is the one that's more interesting to hear because he really like no censor at all. When he has something on his mind, he just speak on it straight away. So sometimes there's some points that is very funny, and that one I think is really worth to listen to. But I think we have a couple of points to maybe to explore more. But I don't have it with me now. But happy to continue the discussions.
Right. I think Bunti did send it in our group chat. So I'll just list down a few of the pointers here. I think it's hitting all of us because one form or another. I'm an Alibaba shareholder. Eric, Kelvin, and Bunti is a Tesla shareholder. So these are the few bullet points that we essentially jotted down. So Munger said Alibaba was actually his biggest investment mistake. That's point number one. Number two, BYD is definitely better than Tesla. Number three, Munger said that TSMC might be a good business, but he doesn't understand it. That's why he thinks it's a bad investment. Number four, he said that crypto is rubbish and crap. Number five, about behavioral bias and denial. And number six, being dumb is forever. And if you are dumb, then he's not going to even engage a discussion with you. I think that's generally what he said that was a little bit more controversial. So maybe I'll first poke the Tesla bulls here first, because I think it's a more interesting topic, right? So Eric, how? Munger said that BYD is leaps and bounds ahead of Tesla.
Okay, so I think the last time you put it in the chat, I think there was 2 points that he's talking about, right? The manufacturing space that BYD is in is like much bigger than Tesla. But I think just on this point, right, I think he doesn't really understand how the Tesla juggernaut is actually rolling along. The thing about Tesla is that they are very efficient, not just with their finances, their cash flow, their expenses, but also in their number of employees versus the cars that they output, and also in the volume space, the manufacturing volume space the factory takes up. Although their gigafactory is huge, right? But if you compare that to the legacy automakers, right, I think their factories are like a lot more numerous, and some probably are bigger. But in terms of the space that Tesla has and the cars, the number that they produce, right, I think the ratio is actually very high. So if you want to say that BYD, because it has more space, therefore it is like miles ahead of Tesla, I think it's a bit stretching it, because in this day and age, we are talking about efficiency, right? We're not talking about you got bigger space means you will produce naturally more cars. Your ratio may be quite shitty, to be honest. But I think I have to give it to BYD. I think initially they were not producing like 100% EVs. They're probably like doing like hybrid or something like that. Or was it like purely internal combustion engine? That one I'm not too sure about their history, but I'm pretty sure that they were not on like full-on EV. They're
not the combustion engine, because I think they started out their business from battery for phones, and then they get into the auto business. So it started out not as a pure EV also. I think it's some form of a hybrid, and now their EV business is doing very well also.
Yeah, I think that should be the point that Munger should emphasize on. They started out with nothing, from scratch, like manufacturing.
I think he did. So he was saying that BYD was not even a brand that anybody knows like a few years back, and then today it's like the kind of scale that they have is pretty, like the way they scale up was pretty crazy.
Yeah, so, I mean, kudos to them for doing that. But to compare Tesla's efficiency with the space, with like the sheer size of BYD, I think is a little bit off already lah. It's not what we are looking at as Tesla investors. If we can like be the top car manufacturer like with 10 million cars, right, with just like maybe 6 gigafactories, I think we will gladly take it. Like we don't have to like have 20 gigafactories or every continent all have, then that's like the same as legacy automakers, right? Yeah. What was the second point that you said? I kind of forgot. He said something.
He said it's quite easy. Tesla has been reducing their price, and then BYD has increased their price. So I guess he's using price as something to say that, okay, you see BYD is doing well, they can increase the price and still sell their cars, and Tesla have to reduce. Yeah.
I think that one also cui, that argument, because the moment they increase their price, Tesla dropped their price massively, right? When they came into the same price range, right? I think you all know that Tesla's sales actually went to the moon. It went to the moon. And then their inventory clear almost everything lah. And then they start to have a wait list again. And then Tesla went back to increasing their price incrementally. So like what I was saying previously, I think they're trying to like feel around for the sweet spot. So they dropped their price massively, see if it will spur the demand. And then the demand went through the roof. Then after that, they adjust it upwards slowly to see where's the equilibrium with their manufacturing capabilities. So for BYD, I don't think it's a very good thing because their margins, right, I think is negative, if I'm not wrong, before the government subsidies kick in. Then they have a small profit margin. So for them, they have no choice but to like push up the price. If not, they're going to be making a loss, bigger losses, the more they scale up. So I think it's not good for them, as in they have to push up the price. I think China, I think we know it, right? Their strategy is more 薄利多销, and they are never want to go into the luxury space like purposefully. Yeah, so they're not like, they don't want to compete with Apple as in the luxury segment, right? They want to compete at the slightly lower end. So that's how I see their strategy. The fact that they have to raise prices now, I don't think is a bragging kind of thing. That's my view.
I think it's also quite hard for China companies to even want to penetrate into the luxury segment. There's a lot of top of mind recall and association and stuff like that. So the made in China brand might be a little bit harder to penetrate in there, but who knows in the next decade or so. So that's the topic on Tesla. Now moving over to the second one, I'll throw it to Kelvin actually.
Before we move there, I have 2 points to raise to talk about the BYD. I think we need to understand when Munger talk about all these companies, he's not saying that BYD is a better investment as compared to Tesla. He's just commenting on the business, the quality of the business and management. Just to name one example that to illustrate that BYD is a good investment, right? I think there's another questions that talk about stock-based compensation. Basically, the question is asking like there are some companies that paying a lot of all these shares to their management, and hence basically companies can just print shares and give it to the management. So he said that this is something that is not good because it's not shareholder friendly, and to illustrate that, BYD, right, the boss in the early years, he actually compensate his staff, his employees using shares, but not using a newly printed shares, but he's actually giving up his own shares to the employees, just to show you that actually they are very shareholder friendly and they know how to reward their employees and so on. So really just looking at the visions, the management of the company, the basically the quality of the company, not touching about the valuation. The reason I talk about valuation is also because someone pointed out that although Charlie Munger talked about like BYD so much better than Tesla, but actually if you look at Berkshire Hathaway, they have been selling BYD shares for some time, like in the past couple of years, I guess, and their stake is already cut by half, if I'm not mistaken. So I think just watch the actions also, not just what he said. But I think just the takeaway from that snapshot is that BYD as a company is high quality companies. Let's stop at there. And when it comes to comparison, yes, Munger think that BYD is better than Tesla. So we can continue to debate which company is better in terms of their quality, but we have to see things. Yeah.
I also want to add one more.
Sure.
It is better, probably he's thinking about in terms of manufacturing and the cars sold, right? But I think Eric would say that all the Tesla fanboys would say that Tesla is more than just a car company. And that's already evident from the stock price itself. Otherwise, it would have already been valued at the same PE as Mercedes and Ford, that kind. So I would say that maybe BYD is selling more cars, but if you look at the future, Tesla is what FSD, AI board, insurance, that's not even in play yet lah. So in that sense, Tesla might be better than BYD law.
Actually, if we look at it from a PE ratio basis, I think they're valuing BYD more than a car company as well. So BYD is currently at 80 PE. Tesla is actually at 55 after the crash down. So BYD has always been trading at more than 100 times. But I think it's also dependent on the expected cash flows coming in. And for now, it's pretty depressed in terms of their earnings that they print out. Punti, you want to add?
Yeah, I think it's not like valuing it as a like a car company plus other things. I don't think it's like that other things is so big into the picture. I think it's more like aside from the current earnings, what kind of growth that we are expecting, because this EV industry is still an industry that is growing very fast. So for both Tesla and BYD, probably they will grow about like, let's say 50% per year. 50%, right? If you just keep that 50%, even if you drop to 40% and keep that for 3 or 5 years, it become a much larger business. Hence, it makes sense to pay a higher PE for both of these companies. So it's not about like, okay, they still have energy, they still have FSD and so on. Yes, those are like the optionality, but I don't think valuation has taken into account those things that hasn't exist as of now. I think mostly we are missing the part that's talking about the growth. Yeah.
Right. So I think on the second part, so I'll just stop the Tesla discussion here. The second part is on crypto. So I think based on crypto, I think Eric and Kelvin do have exposure. Bunti, I'm not too sure. So I'll throw this out since I started with Eric just now. I'll start with Kelvin this time around. So Munger said, I quote, cryptocurrency is crazy, stupid, gambling, and people who oppose my positions are idiots. So Kelvin, do you identify as an idiot?
Yes, I do.
No, what do you mean? You're supposed to defend the argument.
No. Let me clarify. In terms of idiot, I would say that yes, I am. But like I would quote Steve Jobs, like people who say that who feel that people who think that they can change the world are often the ones who do ma. So the idiot are the ones who will break the status quo lah. That's what I would think. And crypto is the technologies that is currently breaking all the status quo right now. So yesterday I met someone from the crypto company lah. I wouldn't say who lah. So he showed me a few. So I brought up the points that I think many people will bring up. First is that crypto is right now primarily used to earn money. I think there's no doubt about that. Second is that the use of 5%, 20%, 30% are unsustainable. That one I agree with it also. So he explained that the reason crypto prices are not going to zero yet is because there's utility in crypto. You see? Oh, lag.
Yeah, lagging.
Okay,
see, this dark screen is the future of crypto.
No, can really.
Okay. So this crypto fees lah. How much are people paying in terms of fees transacted on crypto on each of the crypto? So for Ethereum, one day is earning about $7.8 million. In terms of fees are transferring over to these other fees collected lah. So one day is earning this amount. It's not the trading how much people earn lah. It's through the transactions within the crypto itself lah. So this means that people are actually using this crypto for something to create something. So as long as there's people using this crypto for something, right? The price will never go to zero lah. And this amount is actually increasing every day as people build more and more stuff on stuff like Ethereum, Uniswap, all this kind of. So I wouldn't say it's worthless lah. As you can see, 7.8 million a day is worth a lot of money lah. And also this kind of all this money goes to where? It goes to paying the yield to people who stake in this crypto law. So it's from the blockchain itself. As people verify this crypto, these fees are paid out to them. Okay, so it's not like Holder not where you lend money to them, they lend money to Three Arrows Capital, and Three Arrows Capital go and don't know where the money come from. So that's why when Luna and all this collapse, right? These fees are the use that Three Arrows Capital and Holder not are paying out come from thin air. That's why they collapse. But for some crypto companies, the use come from this kind of blockchain, which are well supported by the transactions. That's why they haven't collapsed yet. That's why crypto, even during this crypto winter, crypto haven't gone to zero yet. I wouldn't say it will never not go to zero, but as long as this, as long as more people build more stuff on crypto, then I feel that crypto is not stupid. So that's what I think.
Right. Thanks, Kelvin, for the discussion. Then what about Eric? I think Eric, you also have crypto exposure, right?
Yes, I have.
Do you identify as the I word?
Okay, sure. If I disagree with him means that I'm an idiot, then probably I am. But yeah, I could say the same for him, right? But let's not be disrespectful because he is the guru and I'm just a nerd. Okay, but anyway, my exposure, to be frank, is very low lah. Because I don't really understand how the crypto, the whole infrastructure, how it works. Yeah, so I'm really a very surface level investor because I do know that there's a huge crypto community, like especially for Ethereum. So I know that they are building stuff and all that. I just don't know what they're building. Like, but I know that they're building stuff lah. Like there's a lot of transaction. Then the people are selling NFT and don't know doing what also. Then they have said blockchain and US also using blockchain to issue their certificate. Yeah, that we cannot print out. So I don't know why. But yeah, so there's a lot of new use cases there. But I think for me, I just want to buy a little bit, like put it in a cold wallet and then see what happens. It's like I just take a seed, bury in the ground. Like I don't know how you turn out. Maybe you turn out to be a big scam and then okay lah, lose a few $1,000. Like okay lor. But what if it is like, wow, you really can scale up, can build up, then wow, then really what big, we also don't know, right? Yeah, so buy a bit lah, got buy, got hope. That sounds like Toto.
Exactly. That's why Munger calls it gambling, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
in his
maybe
perspective.
Maybe it is. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I think we'll Bunty, you have anything for this crypto subject before we end off?
Actually, I think his reasoning on this, right? When he said, okay, crypto is just a shit, right? I think he's staying at a very, very surface level. And this topic itself, right, is a very, very deep level. And just to give you something why he said crypto is stupid, because just now I think Kelvin and Eric talked about like all this utility and so on, right? Let's come back a little bit and talk about Bitcoin, which is the first crypto. And this Bitcoin story, right, isn't started out as like a utility, like people don't build all sort of apps there. It's just like an account. You only have one unit and so on, like unit accounts, right? Basically, you can act as a money. And then I think why I say that this Bitcoin things become doesn't align so much with Munger's values, right? It's because money itself is a way to organize the society. And then right now we have all these government issues monies which work well. Then this Bitcoin suddenly come out and say, okay, our narrative is that governments is actually it's not an entity that you can trust, and then they will keep devaluing the currency and so on. So if you save your money in the form of cash and money, you devalue away. And the way to get out from this is get out from the monetary system that we have, which is based on governments issued money. So we go to Bitcoin because Bitcoin is what 21 millions, and then the scarcity is there. So it makes sense, right? So there's a little bit of anti-social element when it comes to Bitcoin, is that you don't have to trust the government. You just have to trust the algorithm. You just need to trust the hardware and so on. As long as these things doesn't break, right, you own something that is forever like scarce. So that's the story of Bitcoin. Whereas for Munger, right, he see this as a like we don't need this kind of anti-social thing. We should actually, let's say we have government, even if the government do something stupid, we should actually improve how the government govern, rather than you create an alternative with something that you cannot control. So I think philosophically, it's very different worldview. And I think from his standpoint is that Bitcoin is never a solution. We should all come back to the real world and then just sort it out the problem that we have today rather than figure out something that's totally new and try to come up with creative things. Yeah. So it's a very deep one, this topic. It's not just like, okay, crypto, if it is crypto, it's gambling, it's shit. It's not as simple as that. I can promise you.
Okay, Ken, thanks for the rounding up for that crypto discussion. I think now moving on to probably maybe the last topic or the last two topics. He essentially attacked Bunti's biggest position as well. So I quote again, this is from Munger. Well, the semiconductor industry is a very peculiar industry. In the semicon industry, you have to take all the money you have made, and with new generation of chips, you throw in all the money you previously made. So it's compulsory investment of everything you want to stay in the game. Naturally, I hate a business like that. In Berkshire, we like a whole lot of surplus money to come into weakness, all the deals with. And of course, now if you're another head of it, like Taiwan Semiconductor is, that may be a good buy at these prices. I think it's not at all clear to me that they're not going to succeed mightily, but it's a difficult and it's a bit of an enormous promise for the big winner. Then he went on to talk about Intel as well, which was also the past winner in the semicon industry. So maybe before we provide new opinions, maybe Bunti, you want to shed some perspective on this because he attacked your biggest position.
No, I don't see that as an attack. I actually see that although Munger is not someone that's famous for, like semiconductor sector, right? But you can see that when he look at things, right, he look at the economic of that sectors rather than specifically like for example, when we talk about companies to invest, we talk about what's the earnings, what is the competitive mode and so on, but we didn't pay enough attention to all like the economics of the industry, where the part that you just read out, right? I think this is exactly the situations faced by every semiconductor companies, is that every dollar that they earn, they actually have to put it back into capex and R&D to make sure that they stay at the forefront. And if you just like slack off for 2 years, 3 years, then people catch up and then you kind of like become Intel. So it's a very tough situation if you already fall back to like, third and fourth place. So I think he really spot on this view is that this industry is not an easy industry.
Then why are you invested?
Sorry?
Why are you invested in the industry?
I invest because I do see that I have my reasons to say that, okay, this is like TSMC is a company that has won and will continue to win. I have my reasons. It's just that it doesn't it doesn't get out from the economics that Munger just described. They are still in there. So let's say if you look at, let's say TSMC, right? PE is very low. It's like less than teens, right? So it's very low, but you shouldn't say that, okay, because the PE is very low, hence the return will be very, very high. It's not as easy as that because earnings is there, they can earn the money, but the money doesn't flow to shareholders because it has to be reinvested in. So for those who are not familiar with TSMC, you can just do some Google and read about the 100 billions of capex that TSMC plan to spend over the 3 or 4 years. Although they have scaled down the investment, but it's still an industry that you cannot stack off when it comes to capex. You have to keep pouring money back in. So I think that one is something that every semicon investor will have to understand. Yeah. Not so simple. It's a lot more complicated.
Right. So I think also due to time constraints, right? For those of you who are interested about the opinions on whether is Alibaba the biggest mistake of Munger, you can check out my video. I'll release it probably during the weekend or something. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the discussion for this episode and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
No, I thought end already. I thought the
best
one just came out.
Kelvin need to go. Kelvin need to.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
In 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
You want to talk about it, you can next week. Okay. Can.
And I think that's the best part, right? Talk about biggest mistake.